we seem to have Neanderthalic man, and then we have modern human. And there's this giant leap that occurs, and usually we can see these trends of change occur within it, and we can't seem to find that. Now, that it's like the one thing that every evolutionist is trying to find is that in-between man state, because it would prove their theory as far as they're concerned. And they haven't, and I don't think they will, because they've had plenty of time and they haven't found it. They found every other one, all the oldest ones, and it seems weird that we would have a harder time finding the newest form than all the older ones, But this just seems to continue, so I don't think that did occur, and that does lead me to following the Babylonian or Sumerian type of view. So the Babylonians are the Sumerians, basically. Following that perspective, that it was a genetic alteration that occurred, a forced evolution, and that occurred, and we went from an animalistic, more like everything else kind of state to a whole different state of thought and what is referred to as free will within the Bible. It was the eating of the knowledge of good and evil. It was those kind of things that occurred. And so it's quite an intriguing view. And you can see these things if you watch like Ancient Aliens and that kind of show. They kind of allude to these things. They hint at it. They have plenty of artifacts and historical things that definitely point in that direction. So yeah, one of my big things has always been going through the Bible and trying to figure out who these people supposedly were, not like physically, but what's the secret they're trying to tell? Because we've gotten the general story. The general story doesn't seem to fit nearly as well, but there's a symbolic story that does seem to fit a little bit better. And there are so many interpretations that all are very different, yet they all fit fairly well. I mean, there's a corporate form of view on it, that our whole corporate system is linked to biblical writings. There's the side of, the Sumerian texts linking it, the Egyptian texts, and all of these things seem to correlate. But it's like, I think that these words, when they get translated to English, kind of lose their meaning, because a lot of Hebrew words can't really be translated properly into English. Same with Greek. There's a difference between a translation and a transliteration. A translation is taking a word that you see and literally just transferring it to an English type word. But a lot of times the word doesn't do it very well. For example, there are actually three major words in Hebrew that when you read your Bible in English actually are translated to the word God. Three words. So obviously there's three different God aspects or gods or something, whatever it is. I'm not going into that right this second, but there are three words. I mean, these are three distinct words that they're using in Hebrew, and we're translating them as God. And so you've got El, you've got Elohim, and you've got Jehovah. And all three of these are used at specific points. And some people say it's aspects of God. Some say it's his mental state at the time almost, kind of. But an example would be El, Elohim, and Jehovah are all translated to God. Sometimes Jehovah is still kept as Jehovah, but a lot of times it is translated to God. El in Hebrew, if you do not just a translation, which would be a translation as God, a transliteration is usually more like a statement or something. El actually means masculine deity. So you've got a masculine deity. Elohim, El, masculine deity. Ohim is actually a feminine plural. So it's almost like saying the male-female deity, or the multitude of, well, it's plural, so a multitude of gods. It could be. I mean, there's a lot of different ways, and there's scholars that argue it so many different ways and say it's not quite translated quite right when you do it that way and that. But I don't think anyone has it. Jehovah, if I recall, that actually meant like aggressive deity or something like that. But I can't remember for sure on that. I have to look that up again. And that's something that's important there. I mean, you know, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. That God right there, that's the Elohim. You know, what are these Elohim? What is this that we're referring to? Why is that Elohim? And then shortly after it becomes El. And then later on it becomes Jehovah. What's occurring? Are these three different gods? Are these literally just moods? You know, the one is very feminine and masculine at the same time. One is extremely masculine and one is more aggressive. You know, I don't know. You know, are we talking about energies? Is this an energetic type of thing where we're breaking it down in an energetic form? You know, one's the balance, male and female. One has become off balance. It's very masculine. And the other one is aggressive. I don't know. So it's definitely something to look into, and that's one thing that if I could, I would love to figure out what those three separate names are in relation to it, because I think there's a meaning there, and I don't believe that it's necessarily even the same. If it is about a deity, it's not the same deity. It might be more of a race type of thing. And some other intriguing notes that you can probably get from like George Maxwell, and that is like the first book of the Bible is Genesis. It actually comes from a linguistic form of generations of Isis, which Isis was Egyptian, and it follows very similar to the creation story of Egypt. Same with like Israel. Israel is actually a three-part thing. It holds the Trinity within itself, and Israel, Isis, Ra, and El. Like it's the merger of these three ideas into one correlation. And so maybe it wasn't so much a place as much as it was an idea. I think that a lot of these things were ideas. I think that the physical things were probably more so having to do with the outer order. You know, as I said, there was an inner and outer order in secret societies. I believe that religion was held in the same kind of a manner, and the outer order would sit there and they'd say, well, we are, you know, Israel, we're the chosen ones, and the priesthood would be like, yeah, okay, you're the chosen ones, you know, kind of thing. And really it had something to do with, it was much more spiritual, much more inner, and was trying to tell you something about what was going on, whether it's energetically or something along those lines. And that's the way I choose to take the Bible. So yeah, I think that might give you a little bit more aspect into how I see things. The Bible's a very intriguing work. I would love to hear your views on it. Who do you think the Elohim, El, Jehovah are? What is the separation? Why are we using three different words, in your view? And, you know, I would love to get people from both sides. Ones that, you know, if you are a devout Christian and that, and you hold to that kind of a doctrine and believe in going to the church type things and sermons and that, I would love to hear your views. And I promise not to slam you for it. And I would love to hear the views of those that may not, but are intrigued by it for the intellectual knowledge of what it is. So I'm intrigued by both. So if you have a comment on that, please leave it down below in my comments section. So yeah, I think that might be a good place to stop for tonight. If you have any questions, as usual, feel free to ask. Like, subscribe, promote, favorite, and please ask some more questions. I'd like to break away from this topic a little bit, because I don't want it to get too dry. And I will say that I'm much better when people ask me questions or question what I know, give me ideas to work with of your own, because I'm not viewing this so much as I'm trying to teach everyone else. I'm just trying to promote what I've learned over the years and give you an opportunity to maybe teach me something if you know something. But I do require the whole picture to fit together. That's the goal here. I'm not trying to create a dogma in one section. I want it to be an overall scheme. That means everything has to fit, and I'm not. It's not sufficient enough for me just to say, "There's a God. I got to do what He says. Everything else is the work of Satan, and I have to sit here and wait for Jesus or some other entity to come down here and save me," because I'm not for that. So yeah, have a wonderful day. I hope to hear from you, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.